Jack's mother said, "We're stony broke. Go out and find some wealthy bloke who'll buy our cow. Just say she's sound and worth at least £100. But don't you dare let him know that she's as old as Billy-O." Jack led the old brown cow away and came back later in the day and said, "Oh, Mumsy dear, guess what your clever little boy has got? I really don't know how, a super trade-in for our cow." The mother said, "You little creep, I bet you sold him much too cheap." When Jack produced one lousy bean, his startled mother, turning green, leaped high up in the air and cried, "I'm absolutely stupefied! You crazy boy, do you really mean you sold our Daisy for a bean?"
She snatched the bean, she yelled, "You chump!" and flung it on the rubbish dump. Then summoning up all her power, she beat the boy for half an hour, using, and nothing could be meaner, the handle of a vacuum cleaner. At 10 p.m. or thereabout, the little bean began to sprout. By morning it had grown so tall, you couldn't see the top at all. Young Jack cried, "Mum, admit it now, it's better than a rotten cow." Jack's mother said, "You lunatic, where are the beans that I can pick? There's not one bean, it's bare as bare." "No, no," cried Jack, "you look up there. Look very high and you'll behold, each single leaf is solid gold." By gollikings, the boy was right.
Now, glistening in the morning light, a mother actually perceives a mass of lovely golden leaves. She yells out loud, "My sainted souls, we'll sell the minnie, buy her rolls. Don't stand and gape, you little clot. Get up there quick and grab the lot." Jack was nimble, Jack was lean, he scrambled up the mighty bean. Up he went without a stop, but just as he was near the top, a ghastly frightening thing occurred. Just not far above his head he heard a great big voice, a rumbling thing that made the very heavens ring. It shouted loud, "Fee, fi, tho, thum, I smell the blood of an Englishman." Jack was frightened, Jack was quick, and down he came in half a tick.
"Oh, Mum," he gasped, "believe you me, there's something nasty up our tree." "I saw him, Mum." My gizzard froze. "A giant with a clever nose." "A clever nose?" his mother hissed. "You must be going round the twist." "He smelled me out. I swear it, Mum. He said he smelled an Englishman." The mother said, "And well he might. I've told you every single night to take a bath because you smell. But would you do it? Would you, hell? You even make your mother shrink because of your unholy stink." Jack answered, "Well, if you're so clean, why don't you climb the crazy bean?" The mother shouted, "By God I will. There's life within this old dog still." So she hitched her skirt above her knee and disappeared right up the tree.
Now would the giant smell his mum, Jack listened forth fee, fo, fum. He gazed aloft and wondered when the dreaded words would come, and then, from somewhere high above the ground, there came a frightful crunching sound. He heard the giant mutter twice, "By gosh, that tasted very nice," although, and this in grumpy tones, "I wish there weren't so many bones." "By Christopher," Jack cried, "by gum, the giant's eaten up my mum. He smelled it out, she's in his belly. I had a hunch that she was smelly." Jack stood there gazing longingly upon the huge and golden tree. He murmured softly, "Golly gosh, I guess I'll have to take a wash if I'm going to climb this tree without the giant smelling me. In fact, a bath is my only hope."
He rushed indoors and grabbed the soap. He scrubbed his body everywhere. He even washed and rinsed his hair. He did his teeth, he blew his nose, and went out smelling like a rose. Once more he climbed the mighty bean. The giant sat there, gross, obscene, muttering through his vicious teeth, while Jack sat tensely just beneath, muttering loud, "Fee, fi, fo, fun. Right now I can smell anyone." Jack waited till the giant slept. Then out along the boughs he crept, and gathered so much gold, I swear, he was an instant millionaire. "A bath," he said, "does seem to pay. I'm going to have one every day."
This roof keeps me dry when the rain falls. This door helps to keep the cold at bay. On this floor I can stand on my own 2 feet. On this chair I can write my lessons. On this pillow I can dream my nights away. And this table, as you can see, well, it's perfect for tea. It isn't much, but it is enough for me. It isn't much, but it is enough. On these walls I hang wonderful pictures. Through this window I can watch the seasons change. By this lamp I can read, and I am set free. For when it's cold outside I feel no fear. Even in the winter storm I am warmed by a small but stubborn fire, and there is nowhere I would rather be. It isn't much, but it is enough for me. It isn't much, but it is enough for me.
I remember thinking to myself, there is no escape for me now. Even if I make a run for it and manage to dodge a lot of them, I still won't get out because the doors are chained and locked. I'm finished. I'm done for. Oh, Grandmama, what are they going to do to me? I looked round and saw a hideous painted and powdered witch's face staring down at me, and the face opened its mouth and yelled triumphantly, "It's here! It's behind the screen! Come and get it!" The witch reached out a gloved hand and grabbed me by the hair, but I twisted free and jumped away. I ran. Oh, how I ran. The sheer terror of it all put wings on my feet. I flew around the outside of the great ballroom, and not one of them had a chance of catching me. As I came level with the doors, I paused and tried to open them, but the big chain was on them and they didn't even rattle. The witches were not bothering to chase me. They simply stood there in small groups watching me and knowing for certain that there was no way I could escape. Several of them were holding their noses with gloved fingers, and there were cries of, "Pooh, what a stink! We can't stand this much longer!" "Catch it then, you idiots!" screamed the Grand High Witch from up on the platform. "Spread out her line across the room and close in on it and grab it. Corner this filthy little gun boy and seize it and bring it up here to me." The witches spread out as they were told. They advanced towards me, some from one end, some from the other, and some came down the middle between the rows of empty chairs. They were bound to get me now. They had me cornered. From sheer and absolute terror, I began to scream. "Help!" I screamed, turning my head towards the doors in the hope that somebody outside might hear me. "Help! Help! Help!" "Get it!" shouted the Grand High Witch. "Grab hold of it! Stop it yelling!" They rushed at me then, and about 5 of them grabbed me by the arms and legs and lifted me clear off the ground. I went on screaming, but one of them clapped a gloved hand over my mouth, and that stopped me. "Bring it here!" shouted the Grand High Witch. "Bring the spying little worm up here to me." I was carried onto the platform, with my arms and legs held tight by many hands, and I lay there suspended in the air, facing the ceiling. I saw the Grand High Witch standing over me, grinning at me in the most horrible way. She held up the small blue bottle of mouse maker and she said, "Now for a little medicine. Hold his nose to make him open his mouth." Strong fingers pinched my nose. I kept my mouth closed tight and held my breath, but I couldn't do it for long. My chest was bursting. I opened my mouth to get one big, quick breath of air, and as I did so, the Grand High Witch poured the entire contents of the little bottle down my throat. Oh, the pain and the fire! It felt as though a kettle full of boiling water had been poured into my mouth. My throat was going up in flames. Then very quickly the frightful, burning, searing, scorching feeling started spreading down into my chest and into my tummy, and on into my arms and legs and all over my body. I screamed and screamed, but once again the gloved hand was clapped over my lips. The next thing I felt was my skin beginning to tighten. How else can I describe it? It was quite literally a shrinking and the tightening of the skin all over my body, from the top of my head to the tips of my fingers to the ends of my toes. I felt as though I was a balloon, and somebody was twisting the top of the balloon, and twisting, and the balloon was getting smaller and smaller, and the skin tighter and tighter, and soon it was going to burst.
Then the squeezing began. This time, I was inside a suit of iron, and somebody was turning the screw. And with each turn of the screw, the iron suit would get smaller and smaller, so that I was squeezed like an orange into a pulpy mess, with juice running out of my sides. After that, there came a fierce prickling sensation all over my skin, or what was left of my skin, as though tiny needles were forcing their way out through the surface of the skin from the inside. And this, I realize now, was the growing of mouse fur. Far away in the distance, I heard the Grand High Witch yelling, 500 doses! This stinking little carbuncle has had 500 doses, and the alarm clock has been smashed, and now we are having instantaneous action. I heard clapping and cheering, and I remember thinking, I am not myself any longer. I have gone clear out of my own skin. I noticed that the floor was only an inch from my nose. I also noticed a pair of furry little front paws resting on the floor. I was able to move those paws. They were mine. At that moment, I realized I was not a little boy any longer. I was a mouse. Now for the mouse trap, I heard the Grand High Witch yell. I've got it right here, and here's a piece of cheese. But I wasn't going to wait for that. I was off across the platform like a streak of lightning. I was astonished at my own speed. I leapt over the witch's feet left and right, and in no time at all, I was down the steps and onto the floor of the ballroom itself, skittering off among the rows of chairs. What I especially liked was that I made no sound at all as I ran. I was a swift and silent mover, and quite amazingly, the pain had all gone now. I was feeling quite remarkably well. It is not a bad thing after all, I thought to myself, to be tiny as well as speedy when there are a bunch of dangerous females after your blood. I selected the back leg of a chair and squeezed up against it and kept very still. In the distance, I heard the Grand High Witch shout, "Leave the little stinkpot alone. It is not worth bothering about. It is only a mouse now. Somebody else will catch it soon. The meeting is over. Unlock the doors and shove off to Sunshine Terrace to have tea with that idiotic manager."